Hello everybody and welcome to Lush and Salty Aquariums. In this case, a particularly lush aquarium. This is my 32-gallon long from SR Aquaristic, the first tank I set up, and it's going strong as evidenced by this intense, healthy plant growth. Plants like coral in the marine hobby, plants become in the freshwater hobby to aquascapers and just people moving through the hobby more and more important, right? Everybody's attracted to this pursuit because of fish, right? I want this fish, I want that fish. But over time, if you're like me, and I know a lot of you are, the plants become ever more important, and learning about them and how to keep them and the satisfaction you get from seeing them grow and flourish and show colors and reproduce is just as exciting as it is with fish. And so I deeply encourage anyone in this hobby to go all in with live plants. The benefits are ridiculous and obvious. I won't belabor this video to talk about how they aid in fish health, the nitrogen cycle, and the aesthetics. That part you can see with your own eyes. This tank was set up to be a pseudo river biotope in the beginning, so there was a piece of root that created a length down and ending with an empty space. I guess the point is that's really no longer the effect that we're seeing here, and I'm down with that. I trust you are too. It's basically a nature aquarium now, a jungle scape, and yet at the top, while I do have some emerged growth, some pothos, and a little bit of that sort of thing in wood sticking up, and some more pothos back there, and some plants and hardscape decorating the outsides. All these wonderful plants, known for different sizes and heights and requirements, have found their balance here. They're not growing too fast or too leggy. I could trim this Ludwigia repens, but the tops are so beautiful and red, and the bottoms are not dying off, so why mess with perfection? Sometimes if this plant gets too tall and gangly, it loses a lot of its appeal, and you sort of have to either start over or get rid of it. Starting over with a plant like this means cutting the beautiful tops. In my case, I would just pull out the bottom portion and then plant the tops in their place. The reason why sticking with the bottom portion, leaving it in, is the plant will grow invariably 2 stems from where you made the cut, and it doesn't look natural. It becomes top heavy and strange and drains the plant of its resources to create vibrant full leaves and achieve its full color. So trimming the top, putting it down, and get rid of the stalk is a real good solution for me. This is Sturgeon repens. Crazy. This is a carpeting plant, but it's essentially at 4 to 6 inches high. And like this Ludwigia repens, I'm not trimming it because the bottom is just as healthy as the top, and I love the effect, and it's not growing in a harmful way. I mean, look at that. It almost looks like a bacopa or something, but that's Sturgeon repens. I will have to trim it eventually, and I'm not sure how I'm going to play that. There's so many of these plants in here. It's like a carpet / wall, and it's so vibrant and green. I'm really, look at this stem. Look at how tall that one is. It really is like a bacopa plant, but it's not. This is Euripides, I think. A fairly common stem, but with the right lighting and, I suppose CO2. I do run that in this tank, but I'm not obsessed with CO2 in this tank. I just have it on the solenoid at a kind of low output, but you get this great red and yellow flourish at the top. Now this plant is notorious for dying down in its undercarriage, and you see that's not particularly healthy down there, but I've seen it a lot worse. And Hygrophila pinifida is this red, green, yellow palm tree looking plant. And then I've got leopard veil. That leopard veil are plantlets that are just coming down and through the hardscape towards the front of the tank from the mother plants and back, which the outflow pushes the water across the veil, creating that very natural flow pattern, which I love about this plant, and using it with flow. This is Pogostem and Octopus in the back left, and I finally found a way to sort of deal with the back left where the flow is at its highest. This plant has a lot of air in between the leaves, so the flow can go through it instead of just outwardly pushing a plant down like that. And so I think that's a win. And when it gets tall and it grows fast as hell, you just clip it, right? And I've been moving plantlets around. Java fern and Anubias represent the middle along the wood and dragonstone, which you can barely see anymore. And trust me, it's there. That's what the epiphytes are growing on. And I've got the pinifida kind of working its way down, grooming it more like an epiphyte versus a stem plant. You can do both with that plant. It's one of my favorites. Here's a random stem of that Ludwigia again. And then up front I've got some cryptocorn, lutea I think, maybe some parva, and then a few plantlets of dwarf sage and what have you. In the back I've got water sprite. It's behind this hydrocolia, I call it Japanese clover, which I just have basically bunched up in the driftwood, and you see it just, it's reasonably happy there. You can plant it with those white roots, or you can let it float, or do what I'm doing. But back to the water sprite, usually this plant grows up and fast, but for whatever reason, it's creating a beautiful, lush, low, dense carpet in the back, and I'm really excited about that because water sprite's great, but it can take over, and this one is just being robust and vigorous, but staying in its lane, if you will, and I'm excited about that. I think that's a great outcome. Here is my super duper red bristlenose pleco, a male starting to get its bristles. That thing is as red as I've ever seen the species. Again, here's one of those was sold to me as a black swordtail. Looks like a platy, but we'll see. I just love the jet black with the hint of orange. It kind of plays off the color motifs in this tank of black and orange. You see the substrate. Obviously the white clouds have black and red, and so black and red with these swordtail or platies is a wonderful thing. There's another Plecostomus backing in there, more of a regular long fin variety. And then I've got some orange laser Coreodoras. First fish I ever put in here. They're big. I'm surprised I haven't seen babies yet. Babies are something I can't believe I haven't discovered in this tank. When you've got plant growth like this and relatively easy fish to spawn like white clouds. Now granted, the swordtails I just put in, so they're going to do what they do, assuming I have males and females, assuming they're swordtails, so we shall see. But I don't see the orange laser catfish anymore, which is too bad because they're beautiful, but I know they're in there because at feeding time a couple big robust 3-inch specimens just emerge from this jungle. And so very exciting. Equipment wise, that's a Chihiro's RGB3 Slim, which I mounted from the bottom of this racking system. It was pretty easy to do with piano wire or picture hanging wire and a little ingenuity. And then I also, as I said, I have CO2 in here, and I'm running the, let's see if we can find the canister. It's the UNS 24 ounce, and I've got the UNS Mini, which for my money is the best CO2 delivery system I've had so far. I've got this, and I've got the one that has 2 modules on it, so I can get run multiple lines. I have that basically all UNS at this point. I got rid of the Archaea one that just wasn't performing well, and the UNS for that price, and you know the brand well, it's awesome. Likewise, the Oase Thermo Master, Biomaster, Thermo Biomaster, probably pound for pound the best filter for beginners as well as advanced hobbyists. The big benefit is the heater that's built in that really works. It's not a gimmick, it really works. The worst thing is I chose to buy and put on these connects so that when I service the filter, I don't have to deal with a bunch of watery hose. I can lock it up. Now the Fluval has those built in, as do other canisters. For whatever reason, the Oases do not. And that is something that I wish they would correct, although I'm not going to go out and buy a new one if they do, but just moving forward. But all this equipment has performed really well, and I hope you agree that the result is outstanding, and that you also agree with my take on plants becoming ever more important for a bunch of different reasons. Well, eventually I'm going to have to keep my hands in this tank and start doing some trimming, but not today. I just love these so-called carpeting plants that are now forming a forest, and really all the plant growth in here. There's more I could say, how I dealt with algae. I didn't mention the floating plants with beautiful root fronds hanging down, etc. But this was a lot, and I hope you appreciated it. Thank you so much for your support. Ciao for now.